All right, everybody. Merrill Chandler here, your host of the Get Fundable universe and your guide to getting fundable, right? Well, today this is our news update, and every week a week seems like such a short period of time, but I got to tell you, there is so much going on so quickly among lenders. We're talking today, we're going to be talking about credit cards are burgeoning. Their use is growing, and debit card is outpacing even credit card. So let's get to it. First of all, the as of last week, 49% of borrowers of current credit card holders switched to a new primary credit card. So whether they did some debt shifting, or they moved to a low interest or no interest credit card, 49% of the people surveyed, and this was a JD Powers survey, 49% of them you switch to a brand new primary card. So hopefully for us funding hackers, hopefully that was a tier 1 or tier 2 so they can create more value long term. But whatever it was, there was a big shift, and there is this article calls it summertime revenge spending. So the way they characterize revenge spending is that everybody started getting out of debt. I reported earlier in the spring of this year that in 2020, people stopped engaging debt and actually used many of their benefits, either the PPP or their disbursements checks, to retire debt, because people want to maintain positive credit ratings, positive financial reputation, but they want so in order to do so, they were getting out of debt in huge numbers. Problem is that reduced the amount of revenues in 2020 for lenders, bankers. The top 4 banks reported only a $6 billion profit in 2020 second quarter, and as a result of so many people not paying interest any longer. Well, that has rebounded in the second quarter of 2021. The 4 top banks, tier 1 banks, Citibank, Experian, Citibank, Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, they posted 20 billion between the 4 of them, 20 billion in profits. And back because of this article implies that back to this revenge spending, numbers of persons are getting back in the credit game and are charging up or recouping, traveling again, going on vacations again, catching up some of the things that their quality of life purchases, which they had foregone in 2020. Now, having said all of that, debit card, the companion article to this is that debit cards have dethroned credit cards, and why that's likely to stick. So while there's this move because lenders are marketing credit cards like crazy, the number of points they're issuing to brand new cards, the number of rewards and miles have been unheard of to this point. So there's huge marketing muscle being used to engage more credit card purchases and the use of acquisition of new credit cards. Well, having said all that, it said, and I want to quote this because it's really powerful. While debit card transactions went down slightly, total dollar volume was up to record highs, and credit cards, especially reward cards, are the new credit cards. So everybody's going for reward cards if they're using debt cards, but debit card usage has skyrocketed to unforeseen heights over the last year and a half since the start of the COVID pandemic. And debit cards, dollar for dollar, debit cards are being used more now than credit cards, as just a sheer percentage of plastic purchases using some form of plastic. Now, That's the news. What does this mean? What does it mean for you? Why is this important? And the reason why it's important is because we need to be careful if we are framing everything that we're doing in terms of fundability. Debit cards have never and will never help our fundability modeling. It's not going to help us build relationship. Use of debit cards will help us build our relationship with the current bank that issued the debit card, right? Debit card is what we call traffic, and the use of that checking account money via these debit cards. But it's not going to give us a reputation. And remember, the boot camp, we talk about this. Everywhere we talk about this, relationship and reputation are the two chief factors in fundability. Relationship is you building your relationship with your current bank. But what they publish builds your reputation to external and future lending opportunities, funding approvals, right? So we need to be aware. I bring this up. The reason why this is my update is we need to be very careful that we strategically use our credit cards to run enough traffic to drive the approvals that we're looking for business lines of credit, business loans, and growing our relationship with our current revolving accounts credit card issuers, right? But if we react like so many millions of Americans are reacting, then they're moving towards use of debit cards, and debit cards are not going to produce any reputation building data for future lenders to evaluate. So, two take-home messages. First of all, we do not support credit card stacking or debt unless it's absolutely to keep your ship afloat. If you're going to do debt shifting strategies by moving balances to a new card that's 0%, only do it if you have to, not because you fear or want to save a little bit on interest, because the opening of that new credit card lowers your average age. It lowers the value of your revolving accounts portfolio. It lowers the value that you're publishing to future lenders. It completely lowers it. That age of your collective body of credit cards is vital to the message you're sending future lenders. So if you're going to, my preference, my recommendation is to use a credit card and then pay that credit card off using the checking account money you would normally run through a debit account, and pay it weekly. And that way you don't get your high balances, but use a credit card rather than your debit card, because it's plastic for plastic, guys. We have to be wise, but it's two different forms of plastic. So if you use your credit card, you still build the relationship with but you build a credit relationship with your current lender rather than a cash flow or debit checking account relationship. We want to always build those credit relationships. And then credit gets published to the credit bureaus, graded by my FICO and graded by future lender underwriting software. So be moderate, be clear, but if you move over to debit cards instead of using your credit card, that is a long, slow decline in your fundability. So any questions? Put it in the chat. Put it in the comments, and let's keep this conversation going. But this is Merrill Chandler, your guide to the Get Fundable universe, and we're here to make sure that everybody can possibly become more and more fundable by making the right moves as we go through this very precarious and strange land that we live in now in the financial world. I'll see you next time.